This forces the Cavs into an impossible decision. That's right. Money talks, money talks, money talks, especially in the world of the NBA. So we've got some news I want to break down for you in a recent article that I found over the week here on Cavs Digest. Before we get into today's show, welcome back, everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm your host for today's episode, Darayus Sethna. We've got a fun weekend ahead of us with college football and just fall sports now starting to come back into the fold. But I thought it'd be a really good time to talk about Cavs basketball in terms of the financial aspects of everything right now. Before we get into it, like I said, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Cavs Digest YouTube channel. We always love hearing your thoughts, opinions, and comments. So let's keep this train rolling here in the off season. Let's keep it going. So that way, when we get to the regular season, we can even take it to that next level. So like this video, subscribe to the Cavs Digest YouTube channel, and let's get started, shall we? So talking about some finance stuff today. So you're probably thinking, oh, Darius, come on, man. Like, I don't want to be in another finance class here. Numbers are boring to me. But this is important, and it affects the team in a really big way. So as we know, kind of just to set things up here, back in July, the NBA set the salary cap for the upcoming season to a little over $154 million. So getting into a little more specifics here. So the minimum team salary is a little over 139 million. And then we talk about those aprons, right? The word apron has certainly been used a lot when you're talking about NBA finances, particularly this offseason. So that first apron of what teams can ultimately go into, kind of that gray area or that restricted area, or probably the best way to put it would be the area that NBA teams don't want to be in. That first apron is $195 million, and that second apron, which the Cavs find themselves in right now, is a little over $207 million. So when we look kind of all of this in totality, how it impacts the Cavs, on their core four alone, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Jarrett Allen, the Cavs are already taking up, those four are already taking up $152 million of the $154 million salary cap. So what teams can spend, what the NBA wants teams to spend in a perfect world, the majority of that is going to four players on the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? So almost the regular salary cap is going into these four guys. So for Koby Altman and company, it's expected for them to, if they want to obviously sign more players and get more contracts done, like we said with Sam Merrill, bringing Larry Nance Jr. back, Lonzo Ball, they're going to have to get into that apron, right? And that's why they're in the second apron, kind of the max place, if you will, in terms of roster spending. So going into this, the Cavs are already spending over $216 million on the roster this upcoming season. They're pretty much bringing everybody back, adding a few more pieces here, replacing here, replacing there, bringing the core back. And that's going to cost Koby Altman and company a pretty penny. Like I said, $216 million. Now, this could be a problem long-term for the Cavs. And if, obviously, salaries continue to rise and if expectations aren't met, that could force Koby Altman's hand moving forward and having to make him have to have some tough decisions here in the coming off seasons. And the first domino to fall could be a fan favorite. Could be this guy, Jarrett Allen. Had a strong season this past year. Really doesn't have to do much, especially with the ascension of Evan Mobley. And I'll talk about that aspect in a little bit here. But like I said, Jarrett Allen could be the first domino to fall. And here's the good part about Allen. He's still young, 27 years old. So if the Cavs were to trade him, they could get some pieces back here, depending on what the financial limitations are in a deal. But Jarrett Allen certainly has a pretty friendly contract for most NBA teams. Just with the Cavs, it might be a little bit difficult to retain that contract. And ultimately, here is why, right? Because Jarrett Allen is getting paid $20 million this season. Then he gets a pay raise up to $28 million for the following season, 26-27. This contract, the highest he'll make in 1 year in this contract will be up to $32 million, dollars, and that'll be for the 2028-29 season. So getting out of this contract for the Cavs could help long term for the financially for them and help them get out of that second apron. And teams do not want to be in this second apron. So those of you who are maybe a little bit more a little bit unfamiliar with the financial things, and I'll admit I'm still learning this as well. But I put together this little slide for you to kind of help understand how all of this works. So, key restrictions for teams who are in the NBA second apron. The Cavs are one of these teams, right? So, they cannot use any form of the mid level exception. And the mid level exception is what allows teams who are already over the salary cap to sign free agents. So, when you're in the second apron, you essentially cannot do this. What you also cannot do is acquire players in a sign and trade. So let's say that you have a free agent who signs elsewhere. You, as that team now, cannot acquire other players in a sign and trade. So it really kind of hampers your ability to acquire more additional talent on your roster to replace the free agent who is left. Another thing you cannot do is have any cash within the transaction. We know a lot of teams throughout history have just sent cash or whatever the situation is. No cash allowed in any trade for teams who are in the NBA second apron. And last but not least, and this is a big one here as well, teams who have a first round pick in 7 years, so the draft in 7 years, that becomes frozen. So what that essentially means is it cannot be traded. It's essentially invaluable. Right? And you're probably thinking, Darayus, well, that's 7 years down the road. The Cavs are in a win now mode, and I absolutely agree. But this is just something to think about, the possible repercussions that could be on the Cavs' way if changes are not made with the roster construction and some finances aren't wiggled around a little bit here. But kind of moving into the basketball aspect of this with Jarrett Allen, right? Is he honestly, and we have to have this conversation, is he worth that money, the $28 million next year, the $32 million, in 2028? Is he going to be worth that if Evan Mobley continues to rise and shows Cleveland fans and shows the NBA that he's one of the top talents in the league, right? And I hate to say this because I don't want it to sound like I'm, dissing Jarrett Allen here, but you have to be realistic about it, right? If Jarrett Allen's services are declining, his need for services are declining on the Cavs, why pay him more if his services are declining? It's just simple economics right there, especially when you have Evan Mobley, who's only going to continue to get better, and with that is going to want even more money. So that's an interesting dynamic that I think Cavs fans should be a little bit concerned, maybe not concerned, but especially keep their minds on here, and maybe not for this season, but maybe next offseason. What is this roster going to look like? Some big moves could possibly be coming, and it's all because of the financial burdens and the new financial rules that the NBA has in place. But there is some precedent here, so I want to talk about that a little bit, and that's with the 2024 NBA champion Boston Celtics. So the Cavs are kind of in a similar scenario here where they can kind of go all in this year and then figure things out later. That's exactly what the Boston Celtics did a couple years ago. So in the 23-24 NBA season, the year the Celtics won the championship, they spent over $147 million on just their starting five. So that was Kristaps Porzingis, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday. Those guys alone, $147 million. The salary cap a couple years ago in the NBA was limited at $136 million. So here you have an example where the Celtics, just on their starting five alone, were already spending over the salary cap. But that didn't hamper them. What Wick Grousbeck, Brad Stevens, what they did, they said, hey, we're going to go all in. We're going to acquire all this talent. We'll pay the fines, do whatever we need to do, go all in, win this championship, and that's obviously not guaranteed, but put themselves in great position to ultimately win the championship. They had an extra year this past season with the crew, and now you've seen this offseason, they're making moves, right? Drew Holiday is out. Kristaps Porzingis is in Atlanta. They've made some. Al Horford might not be back on the roster. So the Celtics, had a quick window there with all those talented players, but then you saw that window pretty much evaporated just like that, and that's all because of the salary cap. But the Cavs could be in a good position here with guys like Darius Garland still under contract as well. This is an opportunity to just go all in, right? This year, go all in. Jarrett Allen's going to be a Cleveland Cavalier this year. Let's go all in. Evan Mobley's gotten better. Darius Garland, when he's back, he'll be ready to go. You obviously have Donovan Mitchell. So despite all these financial burdens that will be in facing the Cavs in the coming months and coming off seasons, this is still a very well put together roster that certainly has the ability to compete now. So in my estimation, don't need to blow anything up just yet, but this is something I just wanted to get all of your guys' attention on, because it's something that could impact the Cavs here for the long term, and I think it's just interesting to bring up. Maybe a little refresher for some of you on some of the NBA salary updates and just some of the news on that front as well. But what are your thoughts? Could the Cavs extend Jarrett Allen contract-wise? What are your thoughts on the contract? It's pretty team-friendly this year. Like I said, only $20 million this year, but then he starts to take pay raises after this year, which could hamper the Cavs financially. We'll see what happens. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like I said, like this video, subscribe to the Cavs Digest YouTube channel, and I'll see you again soon for another episode. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care.